Hi there. I'm Elaine Smith, the Artistic Director of the Clamour Theatre Company. We're holding these creative conversations with actors, directors, and playwrights so that you can learn more about Clamour and the artists who work with us.
Welcome to this edition of a Clamour Creative Conversation. Today we're talking with Becca Blackmore, a playwright selected for our 7th Annual Playwrights Retreat, whose play, The Thomas Hardy Project, is going to be read on February 25th as part of Clay and Water 2025 at the Regal Center in Penny Farms, Florida. Welcome, Becca. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is very exciting.
Yes, it's great to have you. So why don't you just take a minute to introduce yourself, tell our viewers something about yourself, anything you'd like us to know?
Sure. Well, like you said, I'm Becca Blackmore. I am a playwright and musical theater writer based in New York's Hudson Valley, um, up in the Catskills Mountains, where it's quite snowy right now. Um, and I have been writing plays and musicals for about 15 years now. I started out as an actor, getting a drama degree at New York University, doing a national tour, and then deciding behind the scenes is a bit more appealing to me. And then got my MFA also from NYU in musical theater writing and shifted gears over into creating the text for the stage instead of speaking and living the text for the stage. Um, I enjoy gardening and playing instruments in my spare time. And to pay the bills, I work for a nonprofit and have worked in the nonprofit sector ever since I finished grad school. It's pretty important to me to be involved in the social sector in addition to making art.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about the Thomas Hardy Project without giving away too much of the plot.
Sure. So I was excited to write this play. This is a two-character play about two girls from very different backgrounds at the same competitive high school vying for valedictorian. And they're paired on a project that is going to essentially determine which one of them will be the valedictorian. And through that work together, they discover that they do have a bit more in common than they had realized, which they discover through those works of Thomas Hardy. So I was drawn to making this about a piece on Thomas Hardy's works because he's a bit of an unexpected feminist at a time when people weren't feminists. And a lot of his writing challenged gender roles and challenged the mindset of the time that religion is the be all end all of moral authority. And I think there's a strong parallel for where we are today, in that religious doctrine isn't always the determining factor of what is right and what is wrong. And gender roles are very much still something that deserve to be challenged to make a more equitable world. And so I was really drawn to finding ways to bring these girls together in their understanding of those two concepts as they discover the works of Thomas Hardy. And that's how they kind of find that they have something in common too.
Great. So tell me, what made you decide to apply to our retreat?
Um, well, it's always amazing to have time dedicated to your craft. Like I said, I work full time and writing is something that I have to do on the side. So being able to take this space to just focus on making theater for a week is an incredible blessing for me. And I'm so very lucky that theater companies like Clamour exist and do this kind of work for writers to make new work possible. And I'm very excited to get to spend time with the other writers as well. It's kind of a lonely process writing a play, but theater ultimately is collaborative. And the moment to get to come together with a director, with other voices, to get to spend time with other writers, that's what it's really all about, is that sense of community and making art together. And play is a verb in addition to being a noun, and getting to play with the other creators is very exciting to me.
Great. So I was going to say, do you have anything particular that you're hoping to get out of the reading or the retreat as a whole? You may have sort of answered a little bit of that, but is there anything else?
Well, I love the moments where other people do come into the process. When you're a writer, you're putting the words on the page and you're thinking, oh, this is great. And then you hear it and maybe it's not so great. And you have an opportunity to make changes that you didn't always see when it's just your own eyes and own ears experiencing the work. So it's really that element of collaborating with the other people, and that's going to bring me a lot of joy and challenge me and in all the best ways. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Good. So tell me now, do you have a favorite play of your own?
I do. So I mentioned I write musicals as well, and I write them with both my husband, Julian Blackmore, who's a composer, and a good collaborator and friend, Dan Marshall. And we have written a few musicals together. Um, but my favorite is called Quiz Bowl. It used to be called Academia Nuts, and there's another play by that name. And so we shifted the name. It is about two teams at the National Quiz Bowl Championships. It is a celebration of nerd culture. It is just zany and hilarious and cracks me up. And when we've had the good fortune to have it in front of audiences, it's cracked them up too. But it's really about finding your tribe and chosen family. And I think that's so important to be able to find the people that bring out the best in you. And celebrating that is a big part of that show. And I just love it.
That's great. Is it on New Play Exchange? Could people see it there, read it?
It I think it might be on New Play Exchange. Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay.
And then it was at the New York Musical Theater Festival back when that was a thing.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's now defunct.
Hmm.
But it won Best New Musical at that. And then it's had a brief life in academic settings as well because it's for young people. And so I think they have a lot of fun getting to lean into being nerds. Theater
Yeah,
people tend to be nerds in general.
true.
Um,
Yes.
and you can see a sizzle reel from that production on my website, beccablackmore.com.
Okay, good. So now this question I always ask so that we can just keep adding things to our reading list, like we have time for that. But so tell me about 3 favorite plays that you may have either seen or read by other authors
Oh,
and what you like about them.
okay. Well, the very first thing that comes to mind when I think about favorite plays is always Crimes of the Heart by Beth Henley. It is, it's poignant, it's hilarious, and it's about family and the crazy things that love makes us do. And as someone from the South, I'm from Arkansas, and I have a scattered family. It's got an element of coming together and reuniting, rediscovering your siblings as adults. And that's just been a big joy in my life is re-meeting the people that I grew up with over and over again as we separate and change and then come back together and separate and change and come back together. And that's a big part of Crimes of the Heart for me. And a very similar but also very different play is Appropriate by Brandon Jacobs Jenkins, which is set in Arkansas. Not the most flattering picture of the state, but it is also about adult siblings coming back together after time apart and kind of discovering who they are, but also reckoning with who they've always been. And it's a challenging play, but also uses humor very well. And so I'm just drawn to both of those two pieces that I feel are kind of complementary. Um, and then on the other end of the spectrum is just, I think, the most perfect play about the beauty of life and the fragility of life, Our Town by Thornton Wilder. Classic for a reason. I've never seen a production of it that didn't bring me to tears.
Good.
It's perfect.
Yeah. So tell me, is there a a book you can think of that's been helpful to you in your development as a playwright or just in life in general?
There's a book that's done both. It's Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott, which is a classic about writing, but also about life. It's about the importance of not being terrified by the blank page, breaking down projects into the simplest pieces you can, accepting that our first drafts and everything will not be good, and that is perfectly fine. But I also think that it's a book about writing that has humor, and a lot of books about writing aren't particularly funny. And it's a funny read. It's an enjoyable read with some great stories from her life. She incorporates a lot of lovely poems in the book, and again, just the simplicity and importance of accepting um, those steps of failure over and over again on the path to success and to creating something worthwhile feels really important, both in writing and in just getting through the day.
Great. So good. So for our viewers, if you would like to know more about Becca, you can look for her and her work on the New Play Exchange at newplayexchange.org. And for more information, you can visit her website, beccawrites.com. If you'd like to attend the free reading of Becca's play, The Thomas Hardy Project, on February 25th at 7 p.m. Eastern at the Regal Center, you can make a reservation on Clamour's website, which is also the place to go for information on our other events, and that's clamourtheatre.org. You can find us on Facebook as Clamour Theatre Company. And as usual, we will post all of those URLs in the description below. If you'd like to see more interviews like this, you can please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Becca, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today and letting our audience get to know something about you. We are really looking forward to your reading, and we're very glad you've been able to join us for Clay and Water 2025.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited for it.